Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'll be showing us how to make this 360-degree skater skirt. If this is something you're interested in, then stick with me to the end of the video. Alright then, let's get into it. First, I'm going to calculate my measurement to know how much fabric I would need for this project. So the waist measurement is 32 inches plus 2 inches allowance, which is for zip. That'll be 34. The length of the skirt is 30 inches. And the radius of the skirt, so that would be the waist, where the waist would be the round waist measurement divided by 6.28. The 6.28 is gotten from a math formula, so it's waist divided by 2 pi, which is 6.28. You don't need to know the mathematical formula, just know that the radius for your flay is your waist divided by 6.28. So I have 34 divided by 6.28, and that gave me 5.4, which I approximated to 5.5 inches, so that's 5.5. Now the length of the fabric I'm going to be working with is going to be the radius plus the length of the skirt, so that's 5.5 plus 30 inches. Then I'm going to add 1 inch allowance for folding or hemming the bottom of the skirt, so that's a total of 36.5. Now, if your measurement is going to be like strictly 36.5, then you have to subtract your waistband from the full length. So what I mean is, if the waistband you're going to be using for your skirt is like 1.5, you subtract the 1.5 from the length of the flay, like the length of the skirt. Well, because I wanted a long skirt, I didn't mind adding that to the measurement. So instead of having 30 inches, I have like 2 inches longer because I'm going to add the waistband to it. I hope that makes sense. And the fabric I'm using is 60 inches in length. And I'm going to be folding like an handkerchief. So I'll fold once, like square, and then fold the square again. So it should be equal on all sides. But because my fabric is not long enough, I'm going to have to add fabric to it to give me the length that I want. If your fabric is long enough or your skirt is not as long as this one, you may not need to add fabric. After folding my fabric in 4, this is how much I need to complete it to 36. But that's 2 layers of this much, of 6 inches. But because I want my joining to be on just one side, I don't want to join on like 2 layers, like see the fabric there. I don't want it 2 layers to have the joining. So I'm going to try to calculate to see how much I need if I'm going to just join on one layer. Now, if you don't need to join fabric for yours because your skirt is not that long, or your fabric is long enough, then you can skip this part. So I'm going to calculate how much fabric I'm going to be needing if I'm just adding to one layer. So I have 36.5 at a length, and because it's a square, I'm going to do 36.5 plus 36.5, that's 2 layers, and that's 73 inches. So on one side it should be 73 inches, on the other side it should be 73 inches. So my fabric is 30 inches in length, so 2 layers, that's 60. So what I need is 73 minus 60, that gives me 13. So I made a mistake there writing 73 minus 13. 73 minus 60, that gives me 13. So I need 13 inches, but plus allowance, because I'm going to be sewing it together, I would need allowance to join it. So I need 14 inches length of fabric to cover the shortage I have to give me the length I need. Now I'm going to cut out the strip of fabric that I need to complete the length of the skirt, and then I'll pin the strip of fabric to the main fabric, just as you see me do. As you can see, my strip of fabric doesn't go all the way to the end, doesn't cover that area, but I've measured it and seen that I don't need it to cover that area because my measurement doesn't go all the way to that point. You'd understand what I mean when I start applying my measurement. So this is what it looks like. This is 4 layers. So I folded one layer over each other and then folded it again. So it's going to give me like a perfect square, and it's on fold. From the top, I'll apply 36.5 and go all the way. So it's going to be like a quarter circle. I'll just go 36.5, measuring from that point, making sure my tape doesn't move from that top point that I have my hands. I just move it around the base of this square to give me like a quarter circle. Next, I'll cut it out. And then I'll move on to the waist. So the waist is where we apply the radius that we calculated initially. So I calculated 5.5. So I would mark that across the quarter circle of this. Just the same way I did for the full length is what I'm doing for the waist, but on a smaller scale. So I'll mark this across and then measure the curve to see that it's actually the measurement I want. If it's not the measurement I want, I'll reduce it or increase it. So that calculation we did initially is just a guide to see how much you need, but sometimes maybe a little more or a little less. So you just have to ensure that you have the correct measurement. That's why we double check to see if that's what we need. So I reduced my measurement by half an inch. So that's what I need. I need it at 5. So I'm reducing my measurement and marking that across. And then I'll measure it again. Remember, the measurement on my waist is 34 inches. 34 divided by 4 is 8.5. That's what I need the curve to measure. So once I have 8.5, I'm okay with what it is. I'll just take my scissors and cut it off. Now I've cut off the waist and the full length. The next thing I'm going to do is to split one side for the zip allowance. So because everything is on fold, I need to split one side. So I want the zip, the joining I have there to be at the back. So that's the area I'll be splitting. You can go ahead and split it, but I want to take it to the sewing machine and join it first before I go ahead and split it. So I'll just take it to the sewing machine, join it, and then come back. But first, I'll take my pressing iron and press the line so that it's easy for me to find when I'm done joining. So I've joined it. The next thing I'm going to do is press the seams open so it looks neat. And I'll press the front as well. I folded the flay back. The next thing I'm going to do is to split it open. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you're notified whenever I post a new video. So I'm going to be lining this skirt. I used the main fabric to cut out the lining. So everything is the same, it's just that the lining is a bit shorter than the main fabric. Next, I'm going to work on the waistband. So standard waistband measurement is 1.5 inches. You can have yours smaller, you can have yours bigger, or you can have no waistband if you wish. So I'm going to be using 2 inches for my waistband. So whatever you decide your waistband measurement is, what you want it to be, you multiply that by 2 and add 1 inch. The 1 inch is for the allowance. So I'm going to just cut my strip of fabric that I'll be using for the waistband, and then I will prepare it using my interfacing. I'll be using this cotton interfacing. You can use a gum stay, which is paper interfacing, to do the waistband. I'll iron the interfacing on the fabric. So the rough side is the part that sticks to the fabric. So I'll just place it on the fabric and apply heat for it to stick. So once I'm confident that it's glued to the fabric, I'll come back and then fold one end by half an inch. So I'll just do this all the way to the end. Before I forget, the length of your waistband is the length of the waist. So I had 32 plus 2 inches allowance. That's the length of the waistband. And then the width is whatever your waistband is times 2 plus 1 inch allowance. After I've ironed this half an inch in, I'll come back and iron whatever I decided that my waistband should be. So mine is 2 inches. So I'll fold it down. What you should have left should be half an inch. So I'll fold it down and then I should have that half an inch for sewing allowance. Then I'll just iron it all the way because my fabric wasn't very straight when I, like the initial one I cut from. That's why it'll be uneven. I'll even it out by the time I'm done sewing. So I'm just ensuring that I'm ironing 2 inches all the way from start to finish. Now to sewing. The first thing, I'll take the skirt, I'll fold it in two, and then apply my waist measurement. So the waist is 32 inches divided by 2, that is 16. So I'll apply 16 and mark it where I have 16. And then at that point, I'll turn the fabric. So this is where my zip is going to be and my joining is going to be. So I'm just going to mark how deep my zip is going to go. So I want the zip to be 8 inches long from this point here. So 8 inches, I would mark 8 inches from there, and then mark, so from that length I'll just take it all the way down. So I'll take it to the sewing machine. From the starting point to that 8-inch point, I would sew with a running stitch, which is the largest stitch, and then when I get to that point I'll lock it, and then from that point downwards I'll sew with normal stitch and then lock it when I get to the end. I'll do this for the lining as well. Once I'm done with that, I'll take it to the iron table and iron the seam open. After ironing open, I'll hem the bottom of both the lining and the main fabric. So I've hemmed the bottom and pressed it. So the next thing I'm going to do is to apply the zips. So I'll open the part where I sewed with running stitch. I'll open that up for the lining and the main fabric. And then I'll take it to the sewing machine and attach the zip to the opening. After attaching the zip to the main fabric, I want to attach the lining to the main fabric. So I'm going to be using the lining to seal the sewing, so it's going to be giving it a neat finish. So this is what it should look like. So I'll take it and sew it from the inside and sew it all the way down to where the zip opening stops, and I'll do that for both sides of the zip. So I've sealed the zip area and this is what it looks like. The next thing I'm going to do is sew them together. So I'm going to be joining the lining and the main fabric on the waist. Next, I'll attach my waistband to the skirt's waist. So I'll be joining from the inside and I'll be sewing with 1/2 inch allowance. So I'll sew all the way from one side, but I'll be leaving, so on one side I'll push it out by just 1/2 inch because I'm going to be folding that side closed. So I'll go all the way to the other side. So this is what it looks like. I've sewn it on one side. Next, I'm going to fold the waistband just as you see me do and go and sew it. So I'm going to just seal that end. I'll cut off the excess zip I have and sew on this side. So the exact place where the zip stops is where I'm going to just sew it. But for the other side, because I'm going to have hook and eye on the skirt waist, I'm going to extend it a bit more. So I'll turn it the way I turn the other side, but instead of sewing it the exact place where the zip stops, I'm going to extend it a bit by 1 inch, and then that's where I'll be sewing. So I'll sew it from the top all the way upwards. This is what the side with the extension looks like. So I'll just trim off the excess. Next, I'll turn the waistband to the right side and then I'll pin it down. Next, I'll take it to the sewing machine and just sew it from one end to the other. I hope this video has been helpful and easy to follow. If you have any questions, please drop in the comment section. I'll be happy to provide any clarification that you need. Can you see how neat it looks? So the last thing I'm going to do is to apply the hook and eye to the skirt. I'll just be doing this off camera, but that's it for this skirt. Alright guys, thank you all for watching and I hope to see you in my next one. Bye.